Have you ever looked at one of those massive, super technical risk reports and just thought, okay, but how does this actually stop a hacker? Well, that's exactly the journey we're taking in this explainer. We're going to bridge that gap between paper plans and real-world functioning security.
Specifically, this is Lesson 4.4 produced by EasyPathUni in coordination with Yazan Ibrahim. Our whole goal here is to get super practical. We're going to walk through the entire life of a security control, from the moment it's born to how we keep an eye on it, using real-world examples to really nail down not just the what, but the how and, most importantly, the why. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll turn theory into action. Then, we'll figure out what to tackle first. After that, it's all about building our fortress, getting people on board, checking our work, and finally, staying flexible for whatever comes next. Sound good? Let's jump in.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1. This is where the magic happens, folks. We're talking about taking those abstract, sometimes kind of boring risk documents and turning them into real, concrete security measures, things you can actually see and prove are working.
So what in the world is risk mitigation? Think of it this way. It's the process of making your security plan real. It's moving from "we could be attacked" to "here's the wall we built to stop them." You're taking those ideas from assessments and actually building the defenses to shrink your attack surface. This is where the rubber really meets the road.
Okay, so we know what we need to do, but where do we even begin? I mean, you can't build 100 walls at once, right? That's what this section is all about. It's about playing smart, not just hard. We're going to pinpoint the biggest dangers and aim our resources right where they'll count the most.
And let me tell you, this prioritization is non-negotiable. Why? Because the bad guys are always getting smarter. We're talking about sophisticated AI-powered attacks, advanced ransomware as a service, and vulnerabilities popping up in the software supply chain we all rely on. You've got to know your enemy to build a defense that actually works.
So facing all this, how do we fight back? Well, we start by looking at the tools in our security toolbox. First up, we have our preventative controls. These are your frontline soldiers, your castle walls. Think firewalls, strong access controls, encryption. Their whole job is to stop an attack cold before it even gets a foothold.
But let's be real, no wall is unbreakable. So, what if someone starts trying to climb over? That's where detective controls come in. These are your watchtowers, your alarm bells. Things like intrusion detection systems and log monitoring are always on the lookout, ready to scream, "Intruder," the second something looks off.
Okay, the alarm is blaring. Someone's inside the castle walls. Now what? Panic? No way. This is where corrective controls save the day. This is your emergency response team. Having a solid, practiced incident response plan, and of course, good old data backups, this is what lets you fight back, contain the damage, and get back on your feet fast.
And last but not least, we have deterrent controls. Now, these are a little different. They're all about mind games. A security camera or a big warning about legal action might not physically block a determined attacker, but it sends a clear message. This place is not an easy target. It encourages them to go bother someone else.
So, we've got our 4 types of controls. Awesome. But how do we actually use them together? That brings us to Section 3. The key here isn't to build one really thick wall, it's to build a fortress, a castle, with layers upon layers of defense. And this slide just nails it. Think about it. If you only have one lock on your front door, say just a firewall, and someone picks it, they're in. Game over. But with defense in depth, it's like having a lock, a deadbolt, an alarm system, and a big noisy dog. If they get past one layer, boom, there's another one waiting for them. It's all about redundancy.
In the old days, teams would build an entire piece of software and then, right at the end, toss it over to the security team and say, "Hey, can you make this secure?" That just doesn't work anymore. That's why we have DevSecOps. It's a total shift in thinking. It's about baking security right into the recipe from the very beginning, not just sprinkling it on top at the end.
And the way we do this is with a cool concept called shift left. Imagine your project timeline goes from left to right. Instead of doing security way over on the right just before launch, you shift it all the way to the left. This means, first, you're thinking about security in the design phase. Then, you automate security checks to run constantly while developers are coding. A huge one is making security everyone's job. And finally, you turn your security rules into code, so they're always enforced.
And that idea of everyone's job brings us to maybe the most important part of this whole discussion.
You can spend millions on the fanciest tech, but at the end of the day, your security is only as strong as your people. This section is all about the human element and how to build a security-first culture.
So how do you actually get people to care about security training? Because let's be honest, most of it can be pretty snoozeworthy. Enter gamification. This is a game changer, literally. Instead of a boring slide deck, you turn it into a competition with points, badges, and leaderboards. Suddenly, people are engaged, they're having fun, and guess what? They're actually learning and remembering the material.
Here's another brilliant strategy, the Security Champions Program. The security team can't be everywhere at once, right? So you find people in marketing and finance and HR, people who are interested, and you give them a little extra training and empower them. They become the go-to security person for their team, a bridge to the experts. It's like having a mini security advocate in every department. Okay, our fortress is built, our people are trained. We're done, right? We can finally kick back and relax. Ha ha ha, yeah right. Not even close. Now the real work begins. We have to watch everything, all the time, to make sure all those controls we put in place are actually doing their job.
But how do you know if you're doing a good job? You don't guess, you measure. You use hard data. Take a metric like MTTR, or mean time to respond. A team could set a goal. We will respond to any incident in under 4 hours. It's not vague, it's a number. It's a target. It keeps everyone focused and accountable. And MTTR is just one piece of the puzzle. Organizations track tons of these key performance indicators, or KPIs. How fast do we spot a threat? Are we patching our systems quickly enough? Is our training working? Are fewer people clicking on phishing emails? These numbers don't lie. They give you a real, objective report card on your security health. Which brings us to our final and maybe most important section. Look, security is not a project you finish. It's not a destination you arrive at. It's a continuous process. The threats are always changing, always evolving, which means we have to be ready to adapt right along with them. And a huge part of adapting is accepting that bad things can, and sometimes will, happen. You have to plan for it. This slide breaks down 2 vital plans people often mix up. Think of it like this. A business continuity plan is how you keep operating while the building is on fire. A disaster recovery plan is how you rebuild the building after the fire's out. They're different, and you absolutely need both. And it all really boils down to this. Yeah, the tech is important, the controls are critical, but true success, that comes from 3 things. Leadership that actually buys in, a culture where security is in the company's DNA, and the agility to pivot and adapt when the next big threat comes along. So I'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Is your security just a static wall, something you built once and are just hoping no one finds a way to knock it down? Or is it more like a living immune system? Something that's constantly learning, adapting, and actively fighting off new threats as they appear. Because how you answer that question, well, that could change everything.